Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/idontworkherelady. So sit back, relax and enjoy some Reddit stories. I don't work here, I work in that ambulance. Years ago, in the early 2000s, I was working 24-hour shifts on an ambulance. Since we were working these extended shifts, we had a kitchen and whatnot at our station. So if we didn't have a call right at the beginning of our shift, after our rig and equipment checks, the first thing we do in the morning is our grocery shopping for the day. Now, just to make sure it's clear that there's no possible way for us to be mistaken for the uniform of the store's employees, we wore blue button-down shirts, had a patch on one arm that said State of blank and our certification level, either EMT basic or paramedic, and on the other arm had a patch with our company logo on it. We had dark blue pants with about 500,000 pockets, radios on our belts, etc. The grocery store employees' uniforms were either a white or tan shirt and black pants, and usually some type of apron with the store logo. The last bit of info I should add is that the area we worked in was one of the richest neighborhoods in our metro area, and usually the cheapest car you saw in the parking lot was a Lexus. So now that the stage is set, comes our adventure. My partner and I were at the store doing our shopping for the day, and it was a relatively quiet Sunday morning. Other than us, there were only a couple of other shoppers in the store, and several employees were plainly visible during their morning duties. I'm busy trying to decide if I want link or patty sausages for my breakfast, when I hear the classic ahem. I'm pretty engrossed because, let's be honest, it's an important decision, and now I'm weighing bacon into the mix too, and I really don't pay too much attention. Then I hear it again, accompanied by finger snapping. I'm broken out of my sizzling reverie by this, and think maybe I'm blocking someone's access to the cooler? Turn around and there's this lady in her 60s, dressed up way too fancy for an early Sunday morning grocery run, and she's staring daggers at me. I'm sorry ma'am, am I blocking your way? No, I can't remember the exact item she's looking for. I'm sorry ma'am, I'm not an employee here. I work for blank, the ambulance company. However, I've seen a couple of employees a few aisles over. I'm sure they'll be happy to help. Young man, you will do your job. I need you to find this item for me. Ma'am, again, I'm really sorry, but I do not work here. I work on the ambulance you had to walk past to come in. We always park right up front in case we get a call. Now, I apologize, but I need to finish my shopping so we can get back to the station. I reach into the cooler, grab a package of bacon, because bacon always wins in the end, and plop it into my basket, turn and start to leave. And this crazy old bat decides to shove her cart in my way to try and block me from walking away from her. Young man, my husband is... a name that apparently she thought I should recognize, and my shopping here pays your wages. Do your job and help me now. Between the crash of her cart hitting the cooler and her escalating tone of voice, we've, thankfully, caught the attention of one of the store employees. They come around the corner and it turns out it's the store manager. I recognize her because we've run calls at this store before. Mrs. Blank, please calm down and I'll gladly help you. She's getting wound up to start yelling again, and about that time, my radio starts going off. When we're assigned to a call, it starts beeping very loudly. I silence it, turn to the store manager and apologize to her for running off and leaving my groceries in the cart, but we're getting a call and have to go. I have to go. She's very understanding, and as I'm walking off, I hear the old bat yelling at the store manager. Where does he think he's going? I need this item. And her reply, presumably to his ambulance to respond to that call, since that's his job. Surely that's like the easiest person to know that doesn't work there, someone that's dressed in ambulance gear. Like, that's like the number one thing after maybe police officer and fireman. Grandpa shuts down the gas station. In the 1950s, my grandfather used to work in the rail yards in Beech Grove, Indiana. He picked up a part-time job at the gas station near the yards for extra money. He was the only employee at the station from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. when it closed for the night, so he was responsible for all closing activities. After a few years, he picked up more and more hours and a raise at the rail yard and quit the gas station. However, the station owner had never removed my grandfather's phone number from the employee call list. So occasionally, he'd get a phone call from an employee, usually somebody trying to find somebody else to cover their shift. He would tell them that he no longer worked there, and that would be the end of it. One night after 11 p.m., my grandfather got another call from the station, from a new employee who was having trouble closing out the sales for the day. The call woke my grandfather up, and while irritated, again explained that he no longer worked there and the employee needed to call the station owner. The employee explained that he tried to call the owner, but nobody answered, walked him through the issue and asked him not to call back. The next week, another call after 11 p.m. from the same employee, again having trouble with closing the till. Again, grandfather told him to call the station owner, but the owner wasn't answering his phone. And then, the next week, another call from the new employee after 11 p.m. Now, my father was completely aggravated, and now took action. He said to the employee in a rather gruff voice, "Here's what I want you to do. Take all of the money out of the cash register, leave the register open and just go home. Don't even lock up. I'll come in tomorrow and take care of it. Don't do anything else until I call you." The following morning, my grandfather gets a phone call from the station owner who says, "Did you tell my employee to take all my money and go home?" My grandfather confirmed that he did. The station owner says, "Who do you think you are? You're not his boss." My grandfather replied, "I haven't worked for you in 2 years, but your employees keep calling me. Do your dang job and answer their calls. Take my number off the employee call list, and if I ever get another call again, you're gonna regret it." That was the last time my grandfather ever got a call from the gas station. He never found out if the new employee got to keep his job. Maybe this was some kind of like super gas station which I've never heard about, but if that employee can't figure out how to close down after like a few weeks of doing it, maybe it wasn't the job for him anyway. Why you should never grab somebody from behind. I met my friend Harry at a job I had a few years ago, and we became pretty close. Even after he accepted his job at a pub, we still hung out frequently. Yesterday, Harry interviewed me for a manager position at another restaurant and got the job. Right afterwards, he called me and asked me if I wanted to go out to celebrate. I agreed and we met up at the pub where he worked. As it was a Tuesday, it wasn't packed and Harry, who was still dressed in a nice polo and khakis for his interview, greeted the regulars he knew and the staff. Many congrats were passed around, and more than one round of drinks bought for Harry and me. Harry and I were at the bar, and he decided to stand as he doesn't like high-top chairs. We were so deep into our conversation that we didn't hear the "excuse me" hurled in our direction. Then we heard the all-familiar cleared throat. Harry and I both turned to look and see this man looking at us with a frown so deep you could probably fill it with the Mississippi River. "Sorry, are we being too loud?" I asked. "No, but I would like a refill," he said, glaring at Harry. "Managers shouldn't be standing around talking to other patrons." We realized what was going on. Harry, still in a good mood, said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but today's my day off. I'll ask Jake to take care of you and your party." Harry turned around and made eye contact with the bartender, who nodded and made his way over. This wasn't good for the man, and he grabbed Harry's shoulder and tried to spin him around. Big mistake. Harry is a Marine. Granted, he hasn't been active duty for a while, but he still works out. When we started working together, he asked me not to sneak up on him and to not grab him suddenly. To this day, I make sure to say his name if I'm behind him, so he knows I'm there. The next thing I know, the guy has his hands on his mouth, and Harry's hand formed into a fist, his face grim. Jake and the manager ran over and asked him what happened. Harry and I told them what had happened, and I was scared Harry was going to be in big trouble. The guy, who probably had a loose tooth or two, decided that he wanted to get into more trouble and said, "They were harassing me. All I wanted was another drink, but they told me to screw off and he punched me." Harry just pointed upwards where a camera was pointing and looked at the manager. "Hey, Leo, are the cameras running?" "Yep, want us to look over the footage?" Leo asked. At this, the guy realized that now would be a good time to leave so he wouldn't get into trouble, and did the walk of shame out of the bar. Harry apologized to Leo, and Leo just put his hand on Harry's shoulder. "It's okay, Harry. Hopefully he'll learn why it's a dumb idea to grab a stranger's shoulder." Even if he was on the clock, I'll never understand why people just grab people from behind. "You just watched me on stage. I'm not the bartender, remember? I'm a full-time touring singer-songwriter, and this happens often. And usually, it revolves itself very quickly when I say, 'I'm not the bartender.' But this one didn't go that way. I was playing a show at a bar I have played dozens of times. I'm good friends with the staff, and even have a weekday residency there when I'm not playing my usual out-of-state gigs. The opening band was on and doing great, so people were already in the spirit of a fun night out. We were about 30 minutes from our showtime, and I just wanted a refill on my soda water. I was standing at the end of the bar, in the doorway of the folding bar top door, talking with one of the bartenders and the cook while in between their fast-paced service. Thankfully, the bar was filling up for the show, and they were getting more and more slammed. There was a problem with the CO2 tank or whatever makes the soda water come out of the gun, so the manager/owner was in the back handling it, and I was patiently waiting, shooting the bull between their back and forth walking to fill orders. Unfortunately, the line was stacking up because of the non-functioning soda gun. A Karen, about 45 or so, walks up to me and says, "Rum and Coke," without so much as looking at me. It took me a second to answer because I didn't realize she was talking to me. She is digging into her purse and finds her money, and then finally looks at me and says, "I need a rum and Coke. The show's about to start and I don't want to be standing here when it does." Delighted she's here to see me, I say, "Oh, thanks for coming. Sorry, I'm not the bartender. They'll get your order right down here," and point to the growing order line. She huffs and makes a dramatic gesture of grabbing her purse and huffs on over to get in line. A few minutes pass, the CO2 is fixed, the backed up line gets all their orders, I get my soda, Karen gets her rum and Coke, and I walk on stage. During the show, I can see Karen having a good time at a table with two couples. She's solo, wonder why, and she even rewards me and the band with a few loud "woo" shouts, usually when I'm telling the story to set up the next song. That's nothing I'm not used to, and it's my job to play music, not to teach people manners, so we roll on ahead and have a good time. Standard set is over, and we even get a one more song encore with Karen participating. So we play an old cover and throw the jam around for a while, then call it a night. Last call is still about 45 minutes away, so people linger a while, and I go to the merch table and meet a few fans, new and old. No Karen though. By the time that's done, last call is about 20 minutes away, so I stroll back to my spot at the end of the bar, by the bar top door, and ask for another soda water. As I'm standing there, who should approach but Karen? I'm about to thank her again for coming to the show and for her enthusiasm while we played, but before I can get it out, she says, "Rum and Coke," again without looking at me. I try to be polite to people that paid their hard-earned money to come to my show, and I was trying to figure out how to politely answer this when the bartender walked over, handed Karen her check, and said quite loudly, "I can't serve you anymore, ma'am. Can I call you a cab?" She is flabbergasted and embarrassed and snorts something about it being BS and looks at me like, "Can you believe him?" Bartender replies, "Don't look at him, you just watched him play guitar for almost 2 hours and then tried to order a drink from him. I think you're done." She pays and stomps over to her table, and we can see her relay it all to her friends. They look over and see me waving, and give an embarrassed wave back and herd her out of the door. Oh, and a quick bonus story. Months later, I'm playing at a different bar in the same Metroplex, and a couple come to the show, and then to the meet and greet at the merch table afterward. They look familiar, but I can't place them. This is normal because I meet a lot of people. Until they say, "So a while back we came to see you at the first bar, and this lady we were with thought you were the bartender." And I remember, and we all have a good laugh. Apparently, the two ladies from the two couples worked together with Karen. They were talking about the upcoming show, and she invited herself to come along without knowing anything about me or my music. The best part was when the lady ended with, "Yeah, but she doesn't work with us anymore," with a very satisfied smile. All she had to do was look at him, and then she'd realize, oh, that's not a bartender, but no. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.